Hello students, this is Dr. DeRosier and I'm here to talk to you about the writing process today. The first thing I'd like to say is that the writing process is not brief. Many of you wait till the last minute thinking that you can do all 5 steps of the writing process within a very quick turnaround time, and you cannot. Or if you have gotten away with that with a shorter paper in the master's program, when you're doing 10 pages or more of a paper, it's going to be very difficult for you. And your work is not going to showcase the skills and talents that you've developed. It's going to be a weak representation of what you truly are capable of. And so I want you to think of writing as a process. And the way I see it, there are 5 phases. And people, I've assigned you several videos to watch. You're going to read some on the OWL website about the writing process. Everyone kind of has different steps that they think about. But for me, this is the process that I think makes sense to me. The first step is pre-writing. After that is drafting. Then you revise. Then you edit. Then at the end of all of those 4 steps is when you publish it. So I'm going to go through each one of these steps briefly, and as we go through this course, I'm going to do additional lectures on each of the 5 steps. So we're going to practice them. We're going to break down a paper and we're going to write it this way so that you all can see how that feels and how that's different. And I want to point out that we only have a 4-week class here. It's actually a little less than 4 weeks. So this process does not have to take, months and months. People get overwhelmed with things and they struggle. But the process is really, it can take place in 3 weeks for a 5-page paper. So you can extrapolate that out and figure out how long it could take you to do your more extensive 10 or 15-page paper. The first step is pre-writing. And you might say, what is pre-writing? Well, pre-writing is when you brainstorm your ideas, that whatever you decide on your topic. Sometimes you are assigned a topic, but a lot of times in this program, especially for larger writing assignments, we want you to write about things you are passionate about. So for us, we would prefer you to choose a topic for most larger assignments. At least that's what I do in my courses. So you would get to brainstorm any ideas that you might have about that topic. I would encourage you to write down everything that you know and then determine if you're going to need new information or resources outside of what you already have. For example, in this class, you're going to be developing a topic, I hope something that you really are interested in. And so you're going to already have some resources if you choose to use this topic again in the future, in a future course, then you will already have some information. But you still may need to get additional resources. In general, when you're thinking of writing, you would have to probably have about 2 references per page. So, that's not always the case, especially if a topic is not well researched. Or it's a newer topic that people are just starting to talk about. There may not be enough information and a lot of it would be your own ideas. But in general, the rule is 2 references per page of your writing assignment. During pre-writing, you would organize your thoughts and create an outline. Oh, I know a bunch of you right now are saying, I hate outlines. I never use outlines. Well, those of you that are saying that, your professors can probably tell that you're not using an outline. Now, I'm not trying to be rude, but when you are organizing your thoughts, an outline is a very good way to put down on paper what you need to know and how you're going to present that. And your outline should include the references and where you think those might fall into your ideas and your organization of your paper. But if you don't have an outline, chances are your paper is going to be poorly organized. The next step is drafting. And I don't know, you've probably heard of writing a rough draft. Drafting is when you get things into a paper format. So all these ideas and references that you've been thinking about, you're now going to start writing it out in sentences and paragraphs. And I always encourage students to stick in the reference right there into their sentences and paragraphs in the draft phase. You can always go back and clean up your reference list later. That's another part of the process. But for drafting, you just want to get all your ideas on paper, see about how long this thing is turning out to be. And then you're going to go to the next step, revising. This is where you read through your work. Does this organization make sense? Sometimes it made sense on the outline, but then when you look at it on paper, you're like, well, this is not clear, and these ideas connect here, so I should move them together. And so anyway, you're going to reorganize and move things around. During the revising process, you need to think to yourself, are all my terms defined? You know, am I using the same terms throughout? Is there continuity of my writing here? With the same, are my ideas fully developed? Have I used enough supporting evidence? Is it relevant evidence? What about my flow and my tone? Does everything make sense here? This is what you're doing when you're revising your work. And that step comes before editing. Editing would be your next step. Editing is different than revising. Editing is where you're looking at the minute details of your paper and determining if you've done a good job or not. Things like proofreading, checking your references, making sure everything's in the APA format. Have you met the page count? And after you've done all that, that's when you would send it out for peer review, which is another part of the editing process. So you can see you've done quite a bit of work before you send this out for editing. And so you should edit prior to sending it out. You shouldn't expect your peers or the writing center or your professor to edit your work for you. You should edit your work for yourself. The only thing the peer reviewer is going to be looking at is your organization. They're an outsider. They're going to make sure your ideas are developed. I mean, if they catch an error, they probably will tell you that. But in general, a peer reviewer or a professor will only say, you have multiple spelling errors. I am taking off 3, 4, 5 points because you have so many spelling errors. They're not going to necessarily share what your spelling error is. They're going to say your APA headings are inappropriately done. So I'm taking off 2 points for the headings in this paper. You know, whatever. They're not going to go through and want to do your work for you. You need to be aware of APA format, of spelling, of referencing procedures. All that's for you to know. So, but anyway, you may be really bad at that. And you may say, well, I really need somebody that's going to help me with that. Well, then you need to get somebody, and you'll probably have to pay them to do that. Some people get paid to edit papers. They like doing it. They're very good at it, and they enjoy that kind of work. But you need to realize that is work. And so you shouldn't really expect your friends and your professors to do that all for free. Just a thought for you. But in this course, we're going to be helping each other, and so hopefully people will be giving you very specific feedback about your strengths and weaknesses. And if later in life you need to hire editors because things are very important, or you always need to run paperwork through your boss before sending that out, then that's what you're going to have to do. And you're going to have to find supportive people in your life that are willing to do that work for you. The last step, the last phase of the writing process is publishing. Now, publishing is fun because you've done all the hard work now. It's just you've got to turn it in somewhere. You may turn it into a journal. You may turn it in your court report to the judge. You may turn in your new idea about social work practice to a blog, or you may deliver a report, a grant report to a website. You may send a letter to the editor of a newspaper. You may put an assessment into the client chart. There are numerous places in social work practice where you're going to publish your writing. So this is the last phase, actually publishing it. And sometimes those things are very difficult. Getting into a peer-reviewed journal is more challenging, I would say, than getting into the newspaper for letter to the editor. And but they're all publishing. In all these cases, other people are going to see your work and judge it. So you want to have good work that's well done, that shows the world that you are a true professional in not only your word and your deed, but also in your written word. So I hope that thinking about this process is helpful. I kind of think this way. I like to look at the big picture, and then I look at the small details. And so that's how I'm presenting it to you in this course. I hope it's a helpful thing. So I hope you know a little bit more about pre-writing, drafting, revising, editing, and publishing. Those are the 5 steps of my personal writing process. And I actually think it would be good for you to, as you stop this video, to write down everything that you have learned today. I hope that you're taking notes on all these resources, but I think if you can think about the writing process in these 5 steps, it's going to be very helpful for you during this course. So again, we're going to revisit these different parts of the writing process in more detail as we go through the course, and I hope this overview is helpful. I'll talk to you again soon.